town friends, new and old, and welcome to the Powwow podcast. We are your hosts, Philip
and David.
Yes, welcome any new listeners to the podcast and to our little powwow here. We do invite you to pull up a log and hop right in and join the conversation. You can always find us on our social media accounts under powwow_podcast. We've got a large discussion as well as previews and recaps of old episodes. We try to put up the scores of all of our old games, and also, we love hearing interaction with you, the fans. We love to hear whether you have a topic that you'd like us to discuss, whether or not you hate David's beard. I don't know why you would. But how are you, David? How goes another week in your life?
Very good. It's been a really good week, actually. I'm feeling nice, as good as things could possibly be under the circumstances. As that's kind of what I say a lot of the time, but I feel like this has been a really nice week.
Under the circumstances being and surrounding COVID?
COVID, the fact that I don't have a consistent job. But I am getting to spend more time around dogs, and that makes me really happy.
Hey.
Yeah.
Now we had a production meeting earlier this week, and you had a fun story that you were telling me about how you walked your dog. You were walking your dog, and you were it was constant. You would just be like, "Hey, Scooter, get back here. Get out of that dirty water. Stop drinking it. It's probably toxic. You're going to grow a third eye." Whatever. You're walking your dog. And all of a sudden, like near the end of the call, you're like, "Hey, I gotta go. I've got an extra dog here." And I said, "I'm sorry." And is this a Lady Gaga situation where somebody gave you a dog or somebody ran off with dogs?
No, in fact, it wasn't my dog at all. It was a friend's dog that I walk around lunchtimes because she works far away, and so
okay.
but yeah, there were just like all these dogs that were swarming in that little area. They'd all run away from their owners because I had the frisbee, and so I just attracted all these other dogs, and they all wanted to catch the frisbee. So
that's hilarious. You were like the Lord of the dogs. You brought forth all the dogs.
Yeah,
your
one
frisbees
frisbee
bring
to
all the dogs to the yard.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, and I get to do that frequently. All right, this is That Slaps. Every week we want to bring you guys some form of media that we've been listening to or watching throughout the week. And usually it'll probably be songs, but who knows? Maybe in some way a movie can slap as well. So, Phil, why don't you... Well, no, you've been going first a lot, haven't you? So, you know what? I'm going to take it first. And I was so ready because I think the past couple weeks I did a TV show, and then last week I did a movie, and I was ready to go back to a song. And then today I watched Sound of Metal on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
I have. It's tremendous. It's very good.
It really is incredible. I just adored that film. It was just tragic and beautiful and like heart-wrenching, and I loved it. The acting is phenomenal. It's so well made, and you really should check it out, especially if you... I feel like I'm getting into the Oscar mood now, so like I might be coming at you with a lot of movies, but yeah, the Sound of Metal. If it were a song, it would definitely slap. It slap me hard.
Yeah, you're dipping your emotional toes into that Oscar hot tub.
Yeah.
All right. My That Slaps comes from a discussion last night that I had with some friends where I Want It That Way from Backstreet Boys, I think is the perennial, annual, forevermore That Slaps. Because that song, maybe that or Don't Stop Believing, maybe that's the OG, but this one is 2.0. I Want It That Way from Backstreet Boys is just tremendous. Even if it's just to spoof it, even if it's just you're listening, nobody turns that off. It's fantastic.
An absolutely wonderful karaoke song. I have a story about that song. I was watching. I went with Jake Corlang, our bass player for this very segment. We went to go to the movies back in 2014 or something, And
In
we
the
were
before
watching.
times.
Yeah, once upon a time when the movies was a thing, we went to go see Let's Be Cops, which is a stupid
Ah.
comedy, and we were like, this is either going to be great or it's going to be terrible. And the movie opens with that song, and so we both looked at each other and we were like, it's probably going to be pretty funny. And yeah, we enjoyed it.
That song has no reason to be as good as it is, and yet it is, and I love it for it. I absolutely love it for it. So our main topic today concerns around this idea of quote unquote too soon. It's an idea or a topic that's come into repeated interference with me, and I found myself asking and having an inner dialogue, David, of whether or not something is too soon to comment. Now, of course, I think it might be easier if we start off this topic defining what the idea or the concept of the statement too soon is. So I think it's best described as a main topic, a popular topic has occurred, and we as a global society are determining about whether or not it is okay to poke fun or have comedic commentary on said topic. And the discussion about that is the idea of too soon. If somebody can put forth the words too soon to whatever you responded or commented to the idea or discussion or forum of the topic, then then it's more than likely that you did not practice good taste and timing for the topic at hand. Would you agree with that definition, David?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I think that it's come into play for me this week through a couple of main topics that I think we can really help to break down, and in doing so can help set some sort of guidelines, some sort of standards for everybody to have for themselves, have a document, a manifesto. You know, you're going through Twitter, you're going through Facebook, you're going through Snapchat, whatever it may be, and you're just going to write down, have a bullet point list from myself and you, David, and we're going to give it to you. I think that would merit a successful podcast and a successful podcast listen to anybody listening to us right now. Would you agree with that, David?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So let's start out all the way in Orlando. Senator Ted Cruz. Yes, he went to CPAC this past week after having a contentious week before that, and he opened up his speech in CPAC or at CPAC saying, "quote I gotta say, Orlando is awesome. It's not as nice as Cancun, but it's nice." End quote. Now, of course, this is him cracking jokes about himself and his now infamous trip to Mexico during what is a deadly winter storm that ravaged and went through Texas, leaving many without power, some without water, some with burst pipes, unfortunately resulting in death.
People died.
Yeah, in Texas. And during that point in time, he, of course, left with his family to take a visit to Cancun. He, of course, erred on the side of caution and came back the next day, having an entire weekend.
Well, he came back on the next day after he had received extreme criticism in the press.
Sure. He would say that it was due to some thought process of regret and thinking whatever.
Okay, who knows why he did it, but he was criticized and then he came back. So
sure. And I really don't we have other topics that we're going to be discussing. So I'm trying to, and I don't think we need to make it purely political. It's more so this idea and the breakdown of whether or not perhaps can a person go too soon on their own fiasco, on their own dilemma that they're going through.
Okay, I think we can look at this from a few different perspectives. I really don't think this is a political issue. I think this is just a matter of decency. Okay, so I think that in general, there is a line that one shouldn't cross in many different subject areas. That line, I'm a firm believer that in comedy, that line is way further away. You know, like I really think that the borders, like when you're doing comedy, it changes, and you really have to allow things to not let things sink in. It's just comedy. It's supposed to be light, just laugh and whatever. But this is not comedy, obviously. This is not, Ted Cruz is not a comedian. I think that you should be able to laugh at yourself. I think you should be able to make jokes about yourself. But this, again, was different. I think that what happened, there was definitely some mileage gotten out of it from the late night comedians. People have already made jokes about it. But when it comes from Ted Cruz,
from the source himself,
who's like, yeah, the source himself, like, dude, you did that last week. That's still fresh. People died. Okay. It's never going to sit well with people, because I think that the only way that that's acceptable, that he can make that joke, is if it's in the context of a sincere apology and a statement of regret, and like, haha, yeah, Cancun's great, you know, like, isn't Cancun great? Aren't I an idiot for going? Like, I really regret my actions. I really should have stayed in Texas. Like, I think that might have been perceived a little bit better, but no matter which way I look at this, I really think that it was too soon. Quote
unquote. So for this particular topic, for you, what it breaks down to is not the fact that a person can go too soon on whatever their actions are, per se. It's, in this particular topic or context, it's what he himself went through. It's his specific situation, because of the severity and just how drastically bad the situation it was, and the fact that it is a life and death topic somewhat that we are talking about, because it merits that sincerity and seriousness. That's why for you it is too soon.
Yeah,
because I know for myself, for my job outside of the Powwow podcast, I live in the public specter, so I'm held accountable. There's a lot of things that I say, and so since it's such a public forum, a lot of what I say can be criticized, can be misconstrued, what have you. So I have to pick my words very carefully. But I do suffer snafus from time to time. Obviously, I'm not the most perfect speaker of anybody that's ever lived, so I will say the wrong thing from time to time. One thing that I can think of is I will repeat something and break news, quote unquote, that the host themselves just outlined, just said word for word. I'll just say, oh, by the way, did you hear? Yes, Philip, we just heard that. Oh, well, I'm sorry, excuse me. So in order to rectify and take ownership of that situation, I will repeat that topic or story or break that news, quote unquote, throughout the rest of the show, because it's just a way for me to take ownership of it. It's kind of a way to be humble and acknowledge my mistake. But of course, me making that mistake doesn't mean anybody died. There was no outage at the radio station that I work at, and somebody, because of, oh, Philip killed the host. Ha 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 ha. There's nothing there to really substitute as a life and death situation.
Yeah, no, it completely changes the situation, doesn't it? So I really think we're looking at something where I don't think he had any right to be joking about it in such a context, as if it was like 10 years ago, and he'd already suffered like major political consequences for what he did, and like, it's like, yep, love Cancun. You guys, you love Cancun? Me too. So great. It wasn't that. It was a week ago, and it's still fresh. People are still suffering. So
for in this situation, I think we've dubbed it that Ted Cruz himself, it will forevermore, it would be very hard to find a crevice upon which he could slither in there and find a not too soon. So I think forevermore, that would have been too soon, regardless or not whether it was a week,
yeah,
whether it was a month.
He's totally ruined the Cancun joke for the rest of his life.
Yes. Okay, so next one. I think that there are a couple segments that we can go. There's a self-outing. Then the next one is, of course, a public outing. But this is for a big topic. Of course, we just today we're recording this on a Sunday to pull back the curtain here. And just today on Twitter, there was a hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp. And right now, Amber Heard, reportedly, it's still in the works. We can't confirm anything. Nobody has really, as of this moment of recording. Maybe by the time this comes out Wednesday, there will be something more concrete, more solid. But as of right now, Amber Heard reportedly was fired from production of Aquaman 2, Warner Bros. Filming of Warner Bros. 2. And Emilia Clarke's being mulled about, replacing her. I don't know. It's again,
potential reunion of Khal Drogo and his Khaleesi.
Yes. I think that's a fun topic I have on the side. But it is that is very exciting if that happens. But let's bring it back. There's a lot of jokes being spewed out. There's a lot of happy comments about this, but from what I've seen, from what I've found to be true in the late night circles, because I think that you can truly judge of whether or not here's a tip for you. A good barometer is if the late night comic hosts are making jokes of it, chances are it is at least broaching the time of no longer too soon. Maybe it's topical.
It's socially acceptable by that point. I think it's generally accepted at that point.
Sure.
But I will bring up one thing. Like Jay Leno, for example, used to make Monica Lewinsky jokes all the time, like excessively, to the point where it was kind of abusive to Monica Lewinsky, who is a human being, who has feelings and has been going through abuse for decades now. So I do think that the late night comedians are not always the ones to go off of. But yeah,
right.
In general, I think as long as you're not, as long as it doesn't get to the point where that person is starting to feel abused by the public, then
sure. But the only reason why I say that's a good barometer, at least, of when to at least broach the subject. And in this particular topic revolving around Amber Heard, I haven't seen a lot of late night comics. I haven't seen really a multitude of verified people that have a good sense of this. I haven't seen a lot of jokes being thrown out for this. Even SNL, like whatever public media.
And you know why?
Why is that?
You know why? Is because I think people are afraid to land on the wrong side. Because we don't know. Like, we really don't know what happened. Between the two of them, and I think there are obviously people who are strongly in favor of Johnny Depp's side. I think there are far fewer people on Amber Heard's side, but we don't know the facts, and we don't know what any court might rule in the future. And so I think that's why the late night comedians are like, we're going to take a step back and we're going to wait until we have a little bit more information before we.
Yeah, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp have had a long, lengthy, and ugly trial sequence between them, and a lot of court cases that have gone back and forth. There have been developments pro Amber Heard. There have been developments pro Johnny Depp. I find it hard to truly dive to the center of this Oreo cookie and just find out what's really going on. It's from secondhand information. It's all very, very cluttered. There's obviously a huge amount of vitriol towards Amber Heard for the pro Johnny Depp side. I've seen that come through time and time again. I don't know if it's justified, to be completely honest. It's very hard to make through. But in this specific context, there's a lot of people that, even though they aren't professional comedians, they aren't professional critiques, they aren't professional joke writers, what have you, people who usually comment on social things of determining whether or not it's too soon. We have discussed that it is a long, lengthy trial, so this has been in the public domain, in the public eye for a long time, and a lot of people have taken the liberty of making jokes at either Johnny Depp's or Amber Heard's expense. Is this a case of, if it's a public occurrence and everybody's aware of it, but it's just such an ugly debate and conversation that is had, and a lot of people just either aren't aware, or once they are, it's really hard to determine what side, if any, you want to come down on. Is there a moment upon which we can specifically point to, David, that it is no longer too soon. It remains to be too soon. Is there anything that we can help people guide them through to a
hard to put your
deliverance?
finger. It's hard to put your finger on it. It's I don't know. I can't really answer that. But I will say this. I think a lot of what's being said now is coming from memers. Redditors and who are memers in relation to what things were like maybe 50 years ago. They are political cartoonists, effectively. It's kind of the same thing. Or at least in, like, if you were to read a newspaper, you would get cartoons. Every newspaper would have someone who would draw cartoons, artists, and those are kind of outdated now, and now we have people who make memes. And some memes are stupid and are about nonsense, and some are about politics and Hollywood and etc. So I don't think political cartoonists have always sort of lived on the edge of what's acceptable, what's okay. It's always sort of pushed boundaries, and so we can expect the same thing from memers. Is that a word? Is memers a word?
You keep saying it as if it is. I think we're going to allow it to be just for today, just for this topic. But if anybody who listens to this, watches this, says it's not, I'm going to side with them immediately. I just want you to know that I'm not going to take your side or have your back if it is not.
I'm coining it now. Memers, it's a word. If you make memes, you're a memer. I think that they will sort of live on the edge because they're not really accountable. It's not like they're standing up and giving a speech and going like, "Hey, look, I made this meme. Don't you think it's funny? It's kind of edgy, no?" No, they're. Ooh, sorry,
you're so passionate about memers that you're just knocking your entire recording
whacking
studio
my
down.
microphone. Yeah. So they're not. They're sort of hiding behind a computer screen, often with a pseudonym, protecting their identity. So yeah, I think that they have a different line, but us and anyone who's speaking publicly, comedians, for example, are maybe going to shy away from it for out of desire to not be what's the word,
inappropriate. Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, that is always a fear of saying the wrong thing, of at least having, just like you have right now, having a filter in front of your words to ensure that you're doing your best work, your best quality is coming through. All right, so there's one. I think did we boil it down to a bullet point? Is that too soon? Is there a moment that we can mark? Is it just once there's a final verdict?
It's a moment. I think it is I think watching the late night comedians is a good judge. Yeah. Saturday Night Live usually jumps on it a little bit sooner, maybe if it's a matter like that where it takes time for it to stew and then become acceptable. I think SNL generally may jump on it a little bit sooner because they're a little bit more more on the edge. They're more inclined. Whereas like Jimmy Fallon's got he's got a reputation to uphold.
You know what I would say? I would say if you see a professional late-night comedian talk about it, and I would say give it at least 2 days of breathing room. I realize you won't be the first one to have the funniest comment. You won't be the first one to get the max amount of clicks. I get it. But what are the positives and the negatives associated with being the first one when it's just a funny response? Chances are, if it's all that creative, if it's all that unique, it will still be funny 2 days later from when they made the comment. I think you offer yourself far less variance towards "quote unquote" being canceled if that's what you're worried about, or just being shunned, publicly shunned.
That being said, I mean, you're the master of your own fate, so you do you. Just the one thing I want to say is just take care. People have feelings. Take care of that.
Sure. Even if they are public personas, they still are people underneath all of that. All right, we go to our last one, and this one is interesting because what we've had so far is self me too. Yikes. Self too soon. We have public too soon instances. And then now we get to the almost personal too soon, where I've seen situations in my life of there are people in social circles that I've dabbled in, whether they be family, whether they be theater communities, whether they be friend communities, whether they be work communities. Sincerely, I've seen it all throughout each and every spectrum, that while it did not raise to a level of prominence that it needed to be reported on by the media, or it was picked up by any long trending topic or anything, it didn't gain any mass notoriety. Within those social circles, it was contentious, to say the least. It was talked about, even if behind closed doors, it was a discussion point of too soon. The one that I can think of that probably best suits this description is if somebody who is avidly against wearing a mask, perhaps they're a Karen at Costco who is yelling at an employee for asking them to put on a mask and says, my rights are being taken away, whatever it may be, just people that are just completely against any and all forms of wearing a mask, all of a sudden catches a rather severe case of COVID, where maybe they have to be hospitalized, but I'd say for the sake of this discussion, they make it out okay. By the end of it, they are all fine. At what point, if any, since you at least have some sort of personal pseudo-connection, whether or not it's just a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a family member you don't like, maybe it's a friend you don't necessarily like, or an ex-friend, or an ex-work friend, at what point, if any, is it too soon to comment something friggin' hilarious? Something just absolutely worth the time and place that you took to type and just hit all the keyboards.
As soon as they're not at risk of dying, I think that then it's acceptable. Like,
Yeah.
I have no tolerance for people who are reckless, stupid, endangering other people. Nope. Never too soon.
So the moment they get checked out of the...
Unless they are dying, then they,
Right,
then they...
right.
I'm not gonna
be slightly tasteful. I think so. If it was up to you, Hoffman, you would greet them at the exit of the hospital doors with a mask on, maybe even a hazmat suit, obviously, because they're probably still contagious. But you would be next to the person with the bill, and you would yourself be next to them with a laptop, just saying, comment, enter. I'm going for it.
I would be there spraying them with hand sanitizer or something, like squirting it at them or something like that.
Well, yes. As long as it wasn't at the beginning of quarantine where it was at a loss. But sure.
No, it's or
sure.
maybe I'd find some cheap vodka.
Yeah. You know what you could do is it could be like a faux wedding ceremony where instead of rice you're just throwing up, you're just flicking, just making it rain vodka,
just spraying vodka, yeah,
vodka and Germex, just having a Grey Goose ceremony,
or like you know how when you're exercising you flick holy water. I'd do that with some kind of alcohol.
The only thing I would worry about is open alcohol within open orifices of the human body. Can't you get drunk if you put vodka in your eye or something? Or not drunk, or
but it's not likely to get in their eye, I don't think.
I don't know. If you're making it rain.
This is a pretty unlikely scenario anyway.
Okay.
So
anyways, the point
being,
being,
I don't think there's a point where it's too soon in that kind of case. No.
Once they have escaped danger, once they have moved past any and all harm from within the chance of dying, they're good. What if okay, I'm gonna make it a little bit harder. What if they have a post afterwards that says, I'm still against wearing a mask, I'm gonna forevermore have lung issues, but I'm strong enough to overcome it, or something? Within that post, is that all right to comment a snarky little
yeah, I think it's totally all right. I think it's I would encourage it. Even tell them that they're being reckless and stupid.
All right, it's good. See, we've created a couple guidelines. One, if you are yourself are at the center of a controversy or a controversial topic, and you're the cause of a life and death situation, just don't take ownership of it. Just apologize, ask for forgiveness, but you will forevermore be too soon. Next, if it's in the middle of a long and lengthy, contentious public topic that's incredibly ugly, wait until somebody of authority, some professional who with better lawyers than you has taken the ability and the bold steps to go and brave this new frontier of comedy. Wait for them And even then, give them just 2 days. Give them 2 business days. If it's a weekend, wait for the media to come back and rejoin on Monday to see if and how there was any negative reaction. That's your next checklist. And finally, if you know the person, and as long as it's not a life or death situation, again, that's going to keep coming up because we want to be tasteful about life and death. If it's not to that severity, go ahead, have at it. Go ahead and click that enter button and be as snarky and hilarious as you think you might be, because at worst you might just get a stern head shake. Yes, go ahead.
Can I link the little mask wearing example to our first example? So imagine if someone caught COVID because they refused to wear a mask, and then infected someone, and then they recovered, the other person died, and then they walk out of the hospital, rip their mask off, and go, "Ah, fresh air, isn't it lovely?" That's kind of what Ted Cruz did, don't you think?
It's certainly, I would say that's at least more personal. So therefore, it's kind of hard.
It's on a much smaller.
It's a much more smaller scale, and I'd say that it's more personal. And I think that the ability of Ted Cruz to not sympathize or empathize because it wasn't as direct as that shows what he was thinking underneath. Again, I'm trying to not make this political.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I don't know. We don't know how much he empathizes, but he's clearly tone deaf in this case. So
there we go.
We have our pointers for you. We hope that helps. So this is Fun Factoid of the Week, and I have a very fun factoid for you guys. A factoid actually has this definition.
Oh.
An item of unreliable information that is reported and repeated so often that it becomes accepted as fact. So this statement in itself is a fact, not a factoid, because a factoid would be something that's actually not true, that's just sort of accepted as true because people just talk about it, say it so often. However, in America, it has evolved and is being used to mean a small fact, like a little fact, you know?
Okay. That's interesting that you go there, because I thought I was going to be the controversial one this week, because I have 2. I have a substitute factoid. If you don't accept my first factoid, I don't know how you wouldn't, but if you don't accept it as a factoid, then I have another one. My factoid of the week, my first initial fun factoid is Oreo cookies and cream is the best Hershey's Kiss out there. There's no debate in my mind. It is absolutely phenomenal, delicious, and I can and have eaten this week an unhealthy amount of Hershey's Kisses that were Oreos, cookies, and cream.
I mean, it's not a fact at all. It's very much an opinion, but I mean, I couldn't speak to it because I've never tried it. So.
Oh, my friend, try it. Okay, so then I'll end it here. Then I will go with an actual fact. The anus is the first part of the human body that forms in the womb, meaning even biology knows that booty is to be respected. All right, we move to once more, and we listen. I think that's what the epitome of this podcast needs to be. We listen to you, the people. So in order to best serve you, the people, you are following listening audience, our loyal listening audience. We are going to have a discussion motivated by one of our listeners who wanted us to have a topic about cinnamon rolls. We're going to talk to you about our favorite, or what is the best breakfast treats. So, couple things. I think we need to have all of our contenders out on the table. Of course, cinnamon rolls are out there on the table. We've got
pancakes.
We got pancakes and waffles. Would you want to?
Waffles, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. Would you want to join those?
They're
two?
separate. We should definitely address both separately.
We've got muffins.
Yeah, muffins, sure.
And
I mean, there's so many.
And then there's crepes.
Okay, yeah.
I would say the only other one that possibly might slither its way into this discussion, and I'm curious to see what you would think. It's not as sugary as the others, but a croissant. Does a croissant work for you in this debate?
Sure. Sure,
Okay.
because a crepe, I'm not gonna call it a crepe. A crepe is also not necessarily sweet. It's not sweet on its own. You know,
Okay.
you might put sweet things on it, which
Same-
you could do the same with a croissant. So
Yeah, same with the waffle. I'd say a pancake is much more sweet than a waffle tends to be.
I mean, I suppose that really just depends on how you make them. Because I mean, there's some people that say, why would you eat a pancake? Because a waffle is the same thing, but it's like it's a better shape for pouring
Far more
syrup
structured.
on. Yeah. So I mean, I don't really like. I can't even be bothered to get a waffle iron because I love pancakes. So
Yeah, so you're
so
just
maybe
lazy.
this
That's
is where
all
we
you are.
disagree.
Yeah, you're just far more lazy.
Oh, lazy
right.
or cheap, I don't know, but
All right, if we have our six that we just listed out, I'd say bringing up the rear is croissants. I love croissants. If you ever want to poison me, put out a breakfast croissant in the middle of the table or something, and I will always eat it. I will eat a croissant any and all times I find it. If I have to buy it, there's a barrier of entry. But if it's for free, I will always eat a croissant. Oh,
wait, so it's at number 6 for you? So
It's
it's
at-
your lowest?
it is my lowest in this
Because you
particular.
just said all reasons that you love it.
I love it, but I realize that there's a bias associated with that, and I think that one of our qualifications in this has to be how it can also serve as a quote unquote breakfast dessert, how it can serve to add to a meal, not necessarily just be the meal, and also croissants. I think you have to make a lot of modifiers in order for it to become a sandwich, in order for it to be just more so than just a piece of bread, flaky and delicious as it may be. So at number 6 comes in croissants. I think we can both agree on that.
No, I would put muffins at 6.
See, muffins for me, I'm going to be putting fairly high. I think that they're probably going to be number 3 at minimum for me because they are just absolutely so versatile. And I think a lot of people have different definitions within it. You don't have a non-opinion on a certain muffin. Banana nut or blueberry or chocolate. Those 3, all people have one that they love, one that they hate, and one that they're fine having as a general muffin if all their favorites are gone. Those 3
General
muffins.
muffin.
Yes, the General Brand's muffin. So next would be a crepe. I'm going to put that at number 5 because myself, I like a little more sustenance, a little more bready texture than what the crepe provides me. Where would it land on your list?
Crepe it would probably be up quite.
I got him to
quite
say
high.
crepe.
Ah, you bastard. The crepe would be probably at number 2. I would put the croissant at number 5.
Okay. Next one would be the waffle. Let's go with waffle. Waffle for me comes in at number 2. Number 2 is the waffle.
I'm gonna put waffle at. I gotta put waffle at number 4. I think.
See, for me, the waffle is so structured that each little square or big square, you can have a waffle that's the normal size of a pancake and just make it 4 because of how just dynamic the waffle is. You can have a different portion here, a breakfast portion here, a sweet portion here, a healthy portion up there. There's so much you can do with a waffle. It's so versatile and so structured. God, I just love efficiency. Ugh, it's delicious. Next, we have the pancake. For me, that comes in at number 4.
Pancake for me's got to be number 1.
Okay, that's fine.
But let me be clarified. I make
Sure, make a case
just
for your number
about
1.
the best pancakes around. Like I make really really good pancakes.
You do make a pretty
The
good
best
pancake.
that I've had. I've never. Yeah, Phil's had my pancakes. I've never had anything from IHOP or Denny. Well, Denny's. I don't know why
Yeah.
Denny's, but any other gourmet pancake house. Never. I went to Richard Walker's Pancake House in San Diego. Doesn't match up. I make the best pancakes around.
And see, for me, I'd say the general public accessed pancake and waffle. The waffle is the far superior brand and thus always more expensive because they hold themselves to a higher quality and standard. That's why I would go the average. Okay. Finally, we land at the cinnamon rolls, which for me does rank number 1. I am going to put it as number 1 because you don't have it all the time, so it remains something of a specialty. 2, hot and fresh out of the oven, the encompassing smell that comes with it just fills a house. It's absolutely
Just gorgeous.
You can eat that smell. That smell is absolutely dynamic. And
Yeah.
it does have a little bit of, it does reheat well. It does have a little bit of maneuverability. You can have a different type of glaze. You can make the dough part of a cinnamon roll different than just what the normal standard dough is. There's some things you can do with it, but just for nothing, if nothing else, that smell is to die for. It's heavenly.
Yeah, it comes in at 3 for me, and I absolutely love cinnamon. It was one of my favorite things in the world. It only really comes in at 3 for me because I don't really have it for breakfast.
Oh wow!
It's more of a dessert treat for me, and here generally, like
In the Netherlands.
I love cinnamon roll. No, not the Netherlands, just in my family maybe. You know, the way we've always done things. It's more of a dessert thing, and it's sort of we don't usually have it for breakfast, and so I don't really associate it with breakfast, but I do absolutely everything that you said. Love cinnamon rolls. I don't know that I've ever gotten one from Cinnabon though. All right, Phil. Here we are, our 5th game, the 3rd one for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we'd stay in the spirit of our main topic of joke telling. Let's take a look at the best people to do it.
Oh,
I've got here a list of the top 5 highest paid comedians of 2019, according to Forbes.
okay.
So this will be kind of similar to your quiz last week, where you'll get 3 hints and 3 strikes. So 3 strikes and you're out. You get 3 hints, and you just got to name. So let me clarify. I think that's the first 4 you definitely would be able to get. I think. Number 5, I'm not so sure about, at least for me. So if you can tell me the first 4, and then I'll let you go with any number, any one of 5 through 7. So there's 3. You have 3 chances. There's
Okay.
3 possible answers for what I'm going to consider number 5.
Okay. My only clarification that I need is,
Okay.
do all these people have a stand-up comedy of some kind?
Yes. So
Okay.
The hints that you'll get is the name of their latest special on Netflix.
Okay, because
So for some of those that's a 2020 special, and for some of them it's 2019, and then for one of them it's a 2018.
Cool, because I realized, I think for me, somebody on there that could possibly be on that list would be like Melissa McCarthy, but I don't think she's ever done stand-up per se. All right.
Yeah, these are stand-up comedians.
All right, I think number 1, if not at top of the list, has to be Dave Chappelle.
No,
Oh.
actually not. No, I think a lot of his specials are. He did come out with a special in 2020,
Yes.
but he wasn't.
Oh.
He kind of fell by the wayside for some years there.
Yes,
So
I
he's actually not. Let me see if he's further down on the list.
Yeah, 'cause
that's
I
certainly possible.
I forgot you said 2019. You're absolutely right. I should have accounted for that. He is much more of a recent phenomenon, at least in...
Well, obviously he was big back in the day, and then he sort of had a comeback recently.
Right, but I'm saying as far as earning power. Okay,
Yes,
then
yeah.
number 1 on this list probably has to be Kevin Hart.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. Kevin Hart. Let me look at the number. He, $59 million.
Yeah,
and
Kevin.
His most recent special, Zero Fucks Given.
Yes, he's certainly he's very much a salesman, which is not bad. I wouldn't say he's inauthentic necessarily, but he certainly does enjoy making money. Let's see who else makes that list. Oh, John Mulaney. Let's go with John Mulaney.
Again, no.
Darn.
Nope, he's
Okay.
not on that list.
All right, I'm going to use my hint for one of the 5 through 7 people. Give me a hint on one of our 5 through 7 people.
Okay, your hint is his most recent stand-up special, Stay Hungry.
Stay Hungry.
Does that tell you anything? You know what? I'm gonna give you all 3 of their stand-up specials, and you can if you recognize any of them. One Show Fits All.
Okay.
Kind of a heavier set comedian, and Growing. The only female in these top 7.
Wow. I'm surprised that doesn't sound like an Amy Poehler film or stand-up special. You know who I'm going to go with for a bigger one is Gabriel Iglesias.
There you go. Yeah,
Okay.
that's you got two, and you have 2 strikes. So you've used 1 hint and 2 strikes.
Man, one size fits all. I feel like that's
No, you got that. That's what the one you got, right?
Oh, fantastic.
One show fits all. That was Gabriel Iglesias.
Okay.
And the other 2 there were Amy Schumer and Sebastian. So the number 5 is Sebastian Maniscalco.
Oh yeah, wouldn't have known that. All right, cool. Yeah. And so I'm still viable. I just need to get 3. Let me think. Give me another hint, please. Give me another hint.
Okay. So the number 2 is their most recent stand-up special is called 23 Hours to Kill on Netflix.
Dang. Oh, you know what? I don't think that this is this person, but I'm going to say Jerry Seinfeld.
That is that person. Yeah, you got it.
Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah. All right. And give me my last hint
well
since I'm already working on this.
Okay. Okay. His most recent stand-up special is Noble Ape.
Noble?
2020.
Wow. Noble Ape. I'm trying to think. Who on earth would feel confident enough to put a monkey joke as the title of their... I don't think I'm going to be going off of that because I don't know who it is. So what I will say is I'm going to go with...
Okay, I'll give you a free hint on this the other one. So not this one, but the other one. It's not his special, but I will say the number. So the one I gave you the hint for, Noble Ape, is number 3. Number 4 is his special was in 2018 because he's been pretty busy otherwise as a comedian.
Man, this is tough because I think the only female. I think I can name the female, but I already told
you the female was Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So now I'm just trying to think of who's the males left. Who are like big names in comedy right now that I just can't think of. You know what? I'm gonna go with. Darn, this is so sad. I'm gonna go with. This is pathetic. I'm gonna go with Larry the Cable Guy and just take my lumps.
Nope. Do you want to take one more guess? Save yourself.
Save myself
You did give me one extra guess.
I did.
Last time round. So
I did. Let's go with. Man. Jim Gaffigan.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, you got it. Okay, you got one more. If you can get it, you'll be our first winner on Powwow.
Man, this is incredible. Who are the comedians of our time? I'm trying to go through Instagram in my mind. David can see my hands. I'm just looking up to the heavens for help. Who on earth is funny besides us? Who on earth? This is so frustrating because I feel like you're gonna say it and I'm gonna know it. You know what?
Give up.
I give up.
Trevor Noah.
Oh. I feel like this is your Jason Momoa because I recognize the name. Yes, I understand
why he's the 4th highest paid comedian.
Yes, I get it all.
2019.
Yeah, I understand and I get it all, but at the same time I wouldn't have gotten there. I would have probably thought maybe Ricky Gervais, maybe. I don't know. But anyways.
All right. That would have been an acceptable guess. Let me just see if I can see if Dave Chappelle was even on the top 10.
Yeah.
Nope, not there. The other 3 were Terry Fatter, Jeff Dunham, and Aziz Ansari. All right.
Aziz I might have been able to get. All right, go ahead and give us our list of scores here, David.
Okay, so unfortunately, we are still a bunch of losers, and I am 0 for 2, and Phil is now 0 for 3, and we've got a few. We can break it down into how many questions we've gotten right, but we'll leave that. If you want to check that out, we'll post it on our Instagram pretty soon. So stay tuned there.
All right, so we are almost done with this podcast. Just a few last things to wrap up. Got to clean up the campground, as it were, David. You always make sure you put out the fire and clean up the campground better than you started out with. First off, we want to
your marshmallow roasting sticks.
Yeah, well, the sticks. You can leave some marshmallows out for the bears. They enjoy that. We are going to thank both Tara Amstutz and for all of her lovely imaging for the entirety of the podcast. It's beautiful.
And thank you very much to Cass and Crossland for our intro and outro music, and to Jake Corlang for that bass line. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you continue to listen, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. I should say. My goodness, it's all that sugar from all the marshmallows earlier in the episode. Thank you for listening on Google Podcasts. We are everywhere. That's what this is all going to break down to. We are everywhere except for Pandora, because Pandora, we don't need you. We don't need your help. We don't want your help. We just don't deserve you.
Take care now, and you look out for bears.